Hello everyone, thank you for attending this Meet FinTrU KYC Careers Webinar. I want to start by giving each of you a very warm welcome. It's great to see so many of you joining us this lunchtime. By way of introduction, I'm Ryan Snedden. I'm Vice President here at FinTrU, working within the KYC workstream, or Know Your Client to give it its full title. I'm currently one of the senior managers on a large-scale KYC engagement that we have with a US investment bank. My background is in financial crime and KYC. That's across a number of financial institutions before joining FinTrU just under 3.5 years ago. It's my pleasure to be the host of this event today. So to outline the goal of this event, it's simply to give you an insight into what a career within the KYC workstream looks like here at FinTrU. We're running this panel event, asking each of the panel members to give an insight into their careers at FinTrU and their experience to date. The panel members I will introduce in just one moment. Just to highlight, please do use the chat functionality to submit any questions you may have. We will address them during the audience Q&A session at the end of the panel. To confirm, these questions alongside your attendance are anonymous, so please feel free to submit them as the event carries through. Okay, so let's meet our panel. It's my pleasure to introduce Anthony Brady, Sarah Quinn and Matt Armstrong. And I'm going to come to yourself first. Do you want to give us a brief introduction to yourself and your career at FinTrU?
Yeah, certainly, Ryan. Thanks very much. Yeah, I'm Anthony Brady. I've worked at FinTrU now around 3.5 years. Coming up to 4 years this summer. I think I joined in July 2017. Had previously worked for a Tier 1 investment bank based in Belfast for around 2.5, maybe 3 years in KYC as well before I actually joined FinTrU. And I also manage one of the KYC projects on in FinTrU at the moment. Have done now for around coming up on 18 months, I think. Rapidly expanding project where we've grown from I think it was 6 people originally, coming up to 50 now. So yeah, I've been here around 3.5 years, and the entirety of the time have worked in KYC.
Thanks, Anto. And Sarah, could you share a bit about yourself, please?
Hi Ryan, thanks very much. So I am Sarah Quinn and I'm a recently promoted senior associate based down here in the Northwest. I am a pod lead in a KYC project for an American investment company. I started in FinTrU in January 2020, so only last year I started as an associate, and before that I worked in a variety of different retail banks up in Belfast before I was able to move back home.
Thanks, Sarah. And Matt, last but not least, could you give a brief introduction to yourself?
Absolutely. Cheers, Ryan. I'm Matt. I'm an associate. I've been with FinTrU 6 months, so I'm still quite fresh-faced, and I'm currently working as a QC on a refresh project for an international bank. My kind of different FinTrU experience has been that I've been working from home since I started, from my very first interview right up to now. So it's been a different kind of experience that you know, Sarah and Anto might have experienced, but you know, it's been great and it's been seamless.
Thanks, everyone. I'm going to jump into the questions. I'm going to come to yourself first. Anto, you mentioned in your introduction that you've had an opportunity to develop your career here at FinTrU. I was hoping you could elaborate on that more.
Yeah, certainly. So as I mentioned, I joined FinTrU in July 2017, so it's coming up on 4 years, as I mentioned, this summer. Previously, really liked working for my previous employer, as I mentioned, another Belfast-based investment bank where I'd spent, I think, around 2.5, 3 years before the idea of moving to FinTrU came along. So I think I was approached by a former colleague who'd actually made the same move, came for interview, explained to the panel kind of where I was in my career and where I sort of hoped to move to in the next couple of years, and what way I sort of wanted to get there. So to go into a bit more detail, I was very much seen as probably an SME when I moved, when I made the move to FinTrU, having worked in KYC as an analyst, becoming a more senior analyst during my time with my previous employer. But when I made the move to FinTrU, I made it very clear from the beginning that what I wanted to do was move into people management. So when I joined the company, it was very much in its infancy. I think I was one of the first nearly 100 employees, maybe in between 100 and 150. We've now moved up to nearly 700. And because of that sort of expansion, it has meant that I've been given the opportunity that I really explained that I sort of wanted to have before I made the move. I've actually, within about 3.5 years, I've made the move from being an associate up to senior associate, where I was promoted within about 1.5 years, and then very recently was promoted to vice president also. So yeah, pretty rapid kind of promotion in terms of moving ahead with my career progression, simply because of the opportunities really that FinTrU were able to give me. I think I started with a team of around 5 people. It's moved up to nearly 50 now, and when I first joined the company, I also made it quite clear that if there were any qualifications, anything like that I could take which would help my progression in that way, that I would be interested in taking them. And true to form, FinTrU heard me. Within the first 18 months of my employment, they actually put me through a management course up in the SERC, the CERC there in Lisburn, after work. After working hours, we used to travel up once a week. It was a great wee course. Came out with a certificate at the end of it. Something nice to add to the FinTrU CV, and something that they were really willing to do for me within like the first 1.5 years that I worked here. So I think it kind of proved that I came here with the intention of thinking, right, I'm an SME at the moment. That's kind of what I'm good at. I really want to move into people management. That's what I want to do. And within 3.5 years, FinTrU have A, given me the opportunities, and B, even put me through a qualification to do so. One final thing as well, I would say, not just about my own progression or my own career development, but when I initially made the move to FinTrU, there was a lot of colleagues who made a kind of similar move from similar backgrounds that I did, colleagues and friends as well. And 2 to 1, everybody has experienced similar sort of progression within their career, mainly because, again, the opportunity, their own work ethic, of course, but the opportunities that FinTrU were able to present to both them and myself meant that we were able to make it a success over the last couple of years.
Thanks, Andrew. And you have experience in the Northwest office also. I believe you're seconded up there. I suppose it'd be good to get an insight into sort of how that secondment went for you and the opportunities off the back of that.
Yeah, absolutely, Ryan. So again, that was one of the things that I'd sort of made clear when I first joined the company, was that if there was any any opportunity in any sort of travel or working in a different city or a different site, that would be something that I would be interested in taking up. We then obviously had the expansion to the Northwest, which happened. So I was sent up to help open the Northwest office by being one of the first managers there. I think I was there for around a total of nearly 6 months. And as I've mentioned many a time to many people, it was 6 of the best months of my life, both personally and professionally. Love the people, love the city, kind of gave me a different perspective as well on how things work. After having previously spent all of my professional career in Belfast, to go to a different city and meet a different group of people and kind of see how they work their way through different things, it was great. And I know that one thing I would mention as well is that might seem like a small move to the Northwest, but knowing Dara, who is of course a CEO, he's, as he says, at every opportunity, he's unashamedly ambitious. I very much doubt that the Northwest is going to be the last of our expansions. And again, just going back, I think it sort of proved that FinTrU listened when I joined. It wasn't just a case of, oh, they told me these different things to sort of try and get me in the door. They actually listened when I told them the 2 things that I wanted to do and achieve. They were able to facilitate the both of those for me. And again, as I mentioned, if there's anybody out there who has an interest in maybe working on a different site, or without giving any company secrets away, wherever we're thinking about expanding, then now would be the time, I think, to really get your foot in the door with FinTrU.
Thanks, Andrew. And I think we can all certainly agree that a future expansion is certainly on the cards, and we're unashamedly ambitious as well in everything we do. Sarah, I'm going to move to yourself next. You mentioned in your introduction that you've been recently promoted, and you're also based in our Northwest office. So I'd like to know how your FinTrU experience has been over the course of the past year.
Yeah, no problem. First thing I'd probably say is I can't believe it's only been a year. Like, there's been so many different events, and 2020 obviously has been a wee bit of a mad year for everybody. When I look back in FinTrU, there's been So starting off, whenever I joined, I think I joined within 2 weeks, and we were opening up the second office in the Northwest, so we were moving over there. Then we had like a Women in Finance event in February, and then of course March hit, and this was, we all got sent home when we started working from home. And for me, it was a big change from managing a team face to face to managing remotely, which I have to say has been fantastic, and the company has been really supportive of that. Although one thing I probably would say, the phrase of 2020 has definitely been "you're on mute." I think it's definitely been one of those things. But I have to say, my most favourite part of my whole career in FinTrU has been the opportunity to be really heavily involved in the new joiners. Anybody that knows me knows I love to chat. I love to meet new people, and I was so well supported whenever I joined FinTrU. Like, I met somebody from HR, they came and met me. I had regular contact with the talent pool managers, and it's something that I really wanted to get involved in. So as part of my role, I'm an onboarding champion for a project. So what that involves is anybody that's coming on from maybe another project onto ours, or that have recently joined FinTrU and is joining the project, I'm kind of that buffer, that person that helps transition people from one project to the other, making sure they have access, making sure they've been introduced to their new line manager, and just that person that somebody can pick up the phone and have a cup of tea with, or a coffee, or if they're just maybe having a really bad day or a really good day. And you know, I really do love to get to meet new people, and I've also been able to be involved in a lot of the interviews for a lot of the academy in the Belfast and the Northwest, and I have to say it's one of my absolute favourite parts, and it's something that I'm really well supported with. Anytime there's anything, it's like, yes, can I do this? And everybody's like, yep, no problem, Sarah, what else do you want to do? And it's really, really supportive.
Excellent. Thanks, Sarah. And Matt, coming to yourself next, you mentioned in your introduction that you joined FinTrU whilst working from home during the COVID pandemic. I'm sure many of us have been challenged by that over the last year, but it'd be really interesting to hear how that experience has been for you, joining a new company and getting up to speed in your role.
Yeah, absolutely. So the full story, I would always have thought is a bit of a weird one, but it's maybe a bit more common in 2020. So I actually left my job in March and took a job for a Big Four firm in Glasgow. So I moved across, got set up, and then the day before I was due to start, I got a phone call saying, "Sorry, job's not here anymore. We'll keep you in mind in the future when this whole COVID thing blows over." So stayed for a couple of days and then moved back home with my tail between my legs into my sister's old bedroom in my parents' house. So I was sitting there feeling sorry for myself, chatting to a friend of mine who'd also left my previous employer, and he came to FinTrU and he was saying, "Well, look, FinTrU are hiring. Why don't you give it a look?" And previously I'd maybe had a bit of blinders on, but then I started to kind of look into it, and from that kind of experience, my priorities were changed a lot, and it was very much, how is a company going to treat me as quite high up on my priorities list for what I was looking for. So then I got into looking into FinTrU, started through the interview process, and even from that I started to feel more comfortable with it because, everyone was so nice and so friendly. My first interview was actually with who is now my SVP, so it was great to even have that kind of personal touch during the interview process. Then fast forward to getting ready to start, all my IT equipment was delivered to me, which admittedly would be the first and only time I've met someone from FinTrU in the real world. So that was all delivered to me beforehand. The IT team were on hand. For anyone like myself who's maybe not particularly tech savvy and needed help getting everything set up and working for the start date. And then even onto the induction, the CEO, Dara, actually jumped onto our induction call, and with the 20 people that were starting, had a bit of a chat around everyone, which just blew me away because it's so alien. In 3 years in my last company, I maybe spoke to partners once or twice, but here it was day 2, I think it was, and Dara was on chatting about Gaelic, I think it was, which was just unheard of to me. But even since then, what would be a very rocky road starting a company and never having met anyone, FinTrU smoothed that out really nicely, so to the point where it's not just colleagues that I'm chatting through a screen with, it's friends that I'll chat with outside of work as well. So they've really made the whole process much smoother than I ever imagined it could be.
Thanks, Matt. Excellent to hear. And suppose well done in what is uncertain times and uneasy to get up to speed in, but it is really that support structure that could not be any more important, and what is the new normal moving forward. Sarah, I wanted to come back to yourself very briefly, and from working with you on project and knowing some of the initiatives you've been involved in, FinTrU culture obviously plays a huge role in everything we do, both with our own clients, but within our own company. But I just wanted to ask you a quick question around sort of your experience of the FinTrU culture and the initiatives you've been involved in.
Thanks, Ryan. Yeah, I've been involved in numerous different activities. So I mentioned earlier on about being part of the Women in Finance Day in February. We have been we've done our virtual graduations for our academies when they graduate. We've had that as opposed to having our big black tie night. We have taken part in several quizzes. We had a Halloween quiz, which we raised money for charity. We also had a big virtual Christmas do, so it was really, really good. So all of our everybody in FinTrU got to suggest different activities. So we had pizza and prosecco, we had cocktail making, we had whiskey tasting. This was all organised virtually, and everything was sent out beforehand, and we were able to get really involved in. There's also a few activities that have been set up, actually requested and suggested by other team members. So there was bingo, which was really, really good crack. There was the virtual quizzes. There's also every Friday there is a playlist from our resident DJ. We have a resident DJ, guys. Every Friday it gets put up on our internal social media. You can do suggestions of things. There was a Pride playlist, and as I'm sure anybody that knows me, I was well into that. Really, really good activities. We've got like different book clubs, anything more sports related. Anybody knows me, I'm not sports related at all. I'm into the book clubs and the baking and the cooking and the eating. That is my four, and there's an event and activity for everybody. It's really, really good crack.
Thanks, Sarah. Guys, I'm going to move into the audience Q&A section now. So first of all, thanks to Matt, Sarah and Anthony for each of the insights there. Just a reminder, you can submit your anonymous questions via the Q&A function. We have had quite a few questions submitted via Eventbrite through the registration for the event. So a huge thanks to everyone that has pre-submitted a question, one of which was a question that I can jump straight into now. So the question posed was, how much KYC experience is required to successfully apply for the current vacancies? I think I can take that one, make myself useful and not just ask the questions, I can answer one. Really, to outline the essential criteria, we're seeking individuals with a minimum of 2 years KYC experience within an investment bank, or candidates who can demonstrate similar hands-on experience within retail banking will also be considered. So hopefully that gives a brief overview of what we are outlining in our job applications or in our job posts. And just a reminder, you can see those advertisements on our website on the careers section. Okay, moving on to our next question, and a great question and one that's very relevant for a lot of us here within FinTrU. The question is, what's it like to go from working in an investment bank to working within a vendor? And I'm going to come to yourself with that one.
Yeah, certainly, Ryan. So I suppose there's two ways that I would look at making the move from an investment banking kind of environment where you're working directly for the bank to FinTrU setup, obviously, where we're a vendor for multiple different tier 1 investment banks. So the first one I would say would be around the fact that you're representing the company rather than just yourself at all times. So I'll go into a bit more detail. What I mean by that is that our clients obviously see us as FinTrU, as a collective, as a team, which we obviously are. You know, I've never worked in an environment where it kind of touches almost on what Sarah was saying, and it's just so close knit. Not just on the culture side of it, which I'll come to in a second, but in terms of the actual professional product that we deliver. And what that means is, and what that gives, is the opportunities to impress, is one way of putting it. moving to FinTrU, you'll have the opportunities to get put in front of senior clients, to get put in front of relationship managers, to get put in front of sales desks. You'll get the opportunities that you want if you come in with the right work ethic, with the right hunger, and with the right attitude to really, as Dara would say as well, just take the bull by the horns and really go out of your way to try and make a good impression. You will be given the opportunity to do so. And then on a slightly more culture related point, I know Sarah's obviously touched on that already, but I've never worked in an environment where there's just so much for people to do. And even from when we started out, I mentioned it was 150 people. Even back then, there was still the football tournaments and the sports stuff. There was the book club, and it's grown now exponentially to these different. I mean, I think there's a FinTrU choir at this point. It's grown so hugely. I'm still taking part in I'm trying to take part in the football tournaments, but it's getting harder. The younger staff are sort of starting to make us look a bit daft. But there's a great togetherness in the company where I think, from my previous experience anyway, working directly for that investment bank, I haven't really experienced that until I made the move here.
Thanks, Anto. Couldn't agree more. Next question, I'm going to come to yourself, Sarah. A question that has been posed is how you find the transition from your previous employment and how transferable your skills and experience were. And I suppose, I think the point to highlight there was the application that you came through last year and the post that you accepted and joined in 12 months ago, and how you find that actually set you up for moving into a role within KYC.
Yeah, no problem. I'll not lie, the night before I had my first day in FinTrU, I did have that fear. I thought, oh my goodness, have I done the right thing? You know, have I abandoned everything I've kind of learned? And I wish I could go back and talk to myself a year ago and say, there's absolutely nothing to be worried about. Like, the transition was so smooth. I mentioned before about how supportive the HR team were. My current line manager reached out to me fairly earlier on to introduce herself. There was a full training process. You know, there was an ability for you to go in and, you know, okay, so what knowledge and what experience do you have? Okay, this is how you do your role. This is the information. Anybody that likes a guide or anybody that likes any support, there's all these different people you can reach out to. I was very early introduced to a lot of SMEs in the project, and I also requested I can do some further studying. So I know Anto had mentioned doing further studying, so I'm currently studying for an IOC exam, which is an investment exam, which helps me get that extra knowledge that I have. But I think they really look towards key transferable skills that I've had. So previous line management experience, previous experience in terms of risk and analysis controls, anything like that has been really, really taken advantage of. And like, I have got the ability to grow, and I think it just goes to show that, you know, they use the skills that you have and they grow, and anywhere that you need extra support, they do really, really support it. And I have to say, one thing I have to say is everybody is treated as an individual. You know, there's no cookie cutter role. Like, the role that I do is completely different than the role that Anto would maybe do or Matt do, but there's still a lot of similarities as well. And if there's something that you want, you just need to ask for it. And as soon as the opportunity is there, they'll be like, yeah, Sarah's there, Anto's there, Matt can go into this. So I think if you are worried, you know, about it, you know, in your thinking and you're debating that and you meet the skills, don't think not do it. I think just jump. I wish I had a jump sooner, if I'm going to be dead truthful.
Thanks, Sarah. Okay, I think we'll go for an additional question, and thanks everyone for submitting them. There are lots of questions coming through. Matt, I'm going to come to yourself next, and the question posed was, what does a typical day involve working as a KYC analyst on one of our engagements?
Yeah, okay, good question. I suppose to boil it down and maybe oversimplify it, essentially what it is do we completely understand, or do we completely understand who it is our client is working with and who their customer is? You know, have they ticked the right boxes in terms of the regulatory requirements, and can we completely justify their source of funds and their identity and that kind of thing? The other kind of side of it, which is really interesting, is kind of shaping and guiding policy. You know, a lot of institutions maybe need some guidance in how to how to build their policy, or how to streamline their policy, which is something I really enjoy getting involved in. So at the moment, I'm working with a team of other people, and we're rebuilding, in essence, some policy with the bank in order to kind of smooth out the workflow and to make it more efficient in the long run. So without getting into too much detail, that's probably it in a nutshell.
Excellent, thanks, Matt. And I think an additional question has just come through there as well. It is, do FinTrU take a flexible approach if working in a certain area for a few years, so such as in KYC, for example? And the question was whether the business are open to move across sort of different work streams. And again, I think I could help answer that one in that, in short, absolutely. So business needs, individuals' needs, it will always develop over time, and there will always be a need to look around outside of one engagement that somebody's on, and is that the right fit for them, or is there a further opportunity elsewhere within the business? So we're always speaking to our clients, but most importantly, we're always speaking to our colleagues and our staff. And I think internal mobility is something that we've really championed, and while it's important to come in and get comfortable in the role and gain that additional responsibility or experience and exposure to clients, I think just to confirm, absolutely, and it's something we do actively encourage. If you are flexible in the roles that you can work within, if you get that different exposure, then over time you become a much sort of more rounded individual, and you grow different skill sets and different projects that we do offer. And I think back to a question that was asked earlier in terms of that transition from an investment bank into a vendor, it's one of the beauties of working in a firm like FinTrU, is that you do have so many opportunities. We do have so many different clients and across a wide range of work streams. There really is that great opportunity to keep growing your own sort of personal attributes and your skills, and ultimately a career within financial services too. Okay, very quickly then, in no more than 60 seconds is the challenge to answer, Sarah and Matt. I just want to finish up by asking you one final question each. So why should someone apply for a career in KYC within FinTrU? And Andrew, I'll come to yourself first with that one.
If you have the right attitude and the right work ethic, as I've mentioned already, then the combination of the industry that KYC is, the opportunities that presents itself, combined with the opportunities that FinTrU will be willing to give you, basically means that the sky would be the limit if you do, would be my closing remark.
Thanks, Andrew. And Sarah?
I think for me, why work at FinTrU is you are treated as an individual. You know, every single person's thoughts and opinions are valid, and I've never experienced that in a company before. FinTrU actively wants your feedback and actively wants to improve, and they look to other employees to do that, and I've never experienced that in a company before.
Thanks, Sarah. And Matt?
Yeah, I just have to echo what Sarah said. You know, it's easy in a lot of companies to just feel like a number or a very small cog in the machine. But you know, FinTrU, while we're growing rapidly and up to, as you say, 700 people, and I think it was 500 this time last year, it's never felt like a big anonymous company. It still feels personal and on the level.
Thanks. That's great. I'd like to thank everyone at this stage for attending today. I would also like to thank our panel members. So a huge thank you to Andrew, Matt, and Sarah for each of their insights today. As I did say, questions were flooding through there, so apologies if we didn't get to your questions today. If we didn't, or if you do think of any after this event, please send any questions that you may have to careers@fintru.com. Just to recap, we do have some great opportunities for individuals with KYC experience who are looking for a career at FinTrU. More information can be found via our website, and that's at fintru.com/careers. If you want to be kept up to date with the latest career opportunities with FinTrU, then please do sign up for our email newsletter, and that can also be found on our careers webpage. Thank you very much everyone for attending, and we hope you have a great afternoon.